Come on in, honey. The lantern's lit, the veil's a little thin, and the wind's been dying to carry a few secrets your way. Welcome to Raven's Ramblings, where the shadows walk beside us and the past never stays buried, and a good spell can speak louder than a sermon. I'm Raven Nightingale, part healer, part hellraiser, keeper of the old ways and ghost stories alike. So pull up a chair and listen close. You never know what might be whispering in the dark. Hey there, my leaf crunching, cider sipping witches. Welcome back to Raven's Ramblings, your cozy corner for magical musings and seasonal spellcraft. I'm Raven, and today we are talking about Mabon. We are on our next to last stop on the Wheel of the Year. This is for the Autumn Equinox. This is also when the hours of light and dark are in perfect harmony. Okay. And for somebody like me who way prefers the dark over the light, I know we're getting there. It's so much better. This Sabbath marks the second harvest. It is the peak of the autumn abundance and the beginning of our descent into the shadows. So wrap yourself in a blanket. Not a big blanket right now because it's still kind of warm when I'm recording this. Light something pumpkin scented if that's your thing. A lot of women like pumpkin spice stuff. Light that up. Let's go ahead and start enjoying it. And let's wander into the golden light of Mabon. So Mabon can be pronounced Mabun or Mabon or Mabon, depending on where you're from. It falls between September 21st and the 24th, which marks basically the beginning of autumn. Autumn. That sounded silly, didn't it? Autumn. There we go. Um, it's marking the autumn equinox or the beginning of fall. This is a moment of balance, like I said. It is very equal between the light and the dark, the day and the night, that kind of stuff. It's kind of a cosmic pause between when the dark is completely taking over. So we're kind of at that lull before we start that descent. Cool? Does that make sense to everybody? Sort of? All right. The, yeah, hear my dog snuffling back there and snoring. Okay, this is the second of three harvest festivals on the Wheel of the Year. It's between Lunasa and Samhain. This is where we give thanks for the things that we've gathered and kind of reflect on what we've learned over the course of a year and begin preparing for the colder and quieter days. Think of it as kind of a witch's Thanksgiving. Most Americans, anyway, where we are here, celebrate Thanksgiving in November. This is kind of the same premise, but without you know, the part we don't like. Um, it's a time of gratitude, feasting, reflection, and of course, apple everything. The apple harvest is coming to an end, and we're getting ready to start making cider because we know that's what we need for the winter. Well, some of us, not all of us, but some of us. All right. Origins and mythology about Mabon. The name Mabon was adopted by modern pagans back in the 70s. Of course, everything happened in the 70s. I came about in the 70s. It was a good decade. It comes from and I'm going to mispronounce this. Y'all know I am. It comes from the Mabon apt Madrone. Madrone? Sure. It's a figure in Welsh mythology known as the divine son of the divine mother. He was stolen away in infancy, but was rescued later in life by heroes. It's kind of a tale of loss and rebirth. Okay, so while Mabon himself isn't historically tied to the equinox, his story of light returning to The darkness kind of mirrors that deep theme that's kind of associated with this seasonal shift of time when we're going from the light to the dark. Okay. So, some themes of Mabon. This Sabbath is kind of layered. It's very lovely. It's also a little bit bittersweet. It's a threshold kind of time between light and dark. Of course, that balance, growth and rest, because we're at the end of a harvest season, so everything's been growing. We've been working super hard, and now we're getting into that resting period, which also goes along with the next of doing and being. It's all about the balance. It's all about balance. Some of our other key themes are balance and duality. Once again, you got to have a balance. It's like a work life balance, and it kind of goes with everything. You need that equilibrium, even in nature. Nature needs that equilibrium. You need it within yourself, not just in a day to day life, but within your spiritual self also. Okay. Other key themes are gratitude. We want to honor the earth, we want to honor ancestors, and we want to honor our journeys. You know, some of our journeys were exceptionally hard, and some of them were exceptionally easy. And both of those things are okay if we learn from those and grow from those. Even those hard journeys, we can still find some type of knowledge within that and grow from that. This is another time for the theme of harvest and preparation. We are gathering those final fruits and crops and stuff, getting ready for the winter's rest. And those things, like the gathering of the crops, are exceptionally important, especially in ancient times, because that's how they fed themselves throughout the winter. If they didn't plant and grow and harvest and store and all those things, then there was no eating in the winter. And that's kind of how I personally grew up. We had large gardens and we hunted, and without those things, there wasn't food, in the winter time. It was very important that those things had to happen, and there was that balance, because during the winter, you couldn't do a whole lot of things. There's that do and be and gather and rest, and it's a balance. This is also a time of letting go. We need to release what's not serving us. All right? Stop. We have to, and I say this as the greater we because I know I am part of that we. We have to release what no longer serves us. If we hold on to too many of those things that don't serve us, it's just poison to us. It's poison to our mind, it's poison to our body, it is poison to our spiritual self. So let those things go. And speaking of our spiritual selves, it's also an amazing time for shadow work. Now, look, I have not done my shadow book. I have a shadow journal that I got last year or the year before, and I have not been brave enough to do it yet, because shadow work is the descent into introspection. Okay, you are looking at your deeper self, why you are the way you are, why you do the things you do, and finding out who at your core you really are. Not the mask we wear for the public, not the mask we wear for our families, not even the mask we wear for ourselves. Okay, what is beyond that? That deep introspection is terrifying, because you find out things about yourself you had no idea. And I have personally not gotten brave enough to jump off in that one yet. But I'm going to. And this may be the year that I do it. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty brave. We'll see. So, symbols and correspondences. One of my favorite parts, I'm going to have to read this word for word because you know I can't remember all this mess. Colors. And I love fall colors. I do not wear fall colors, but I love them. They're absolutely stunning. Deep reds. Beautiful. Burnt orange, one of my favorites. Golden yellows, browns, maroons, dark greens, all of those things are very important to this time of year. Some of our crystals, a smoky quartz, stunning. Love a smoky quartz. Amber, obsidian, which you hear my dog shaking. Amber and obsidian, citrine, um, amethyst, tiger's eye. Ooh, tiger's eye is perfect because of the coloring, especially. Some of our herbs and plants, rosemary, mugwort, pine, marigold, apple leaves. There we go with our apples again. And sage. Now, sage is that ticky one. We want to be careful with sage. White sage is part of a closed practice. If you are not Native American or you were not taught, the ways by a Native American, I personally was taught by a Native American shaman about sage and how to use it and so forth. I still am extremely sparingly use sage. Now, blue sage and other sages, like cooking sage and all that, those are not part of that closed practice. But white sage is part of a closed practice. And anything that you get like that, please make sure it's always ethically sourced. Okay? Just a little PSA. I know. I know. We all know these things. So, foods: apples, bread, squash, berries, corn, nuts, not corn nuts, that's something else. Delicious, but that's not what we're talking about. Root veggies, cider, and wine. Like I said, it's apple season, so we're going to be getting those apples going for cider. See? Well, not where I live because we don't have that here, but up in like Vermont and stuff, that's when they do all their apple picking and making their apple ciders. Different symbols, scales. Now, not like fish or snake scales, not that kind of scale, like a balance scale, like a weight scale. Okay, like, a scale, like the scales of justice. You might need a few of those around, but that kind of a scale. Uh, Falling leaves, cornucopias, which are so cute. I don't know why, but they're super cute. Of course, apples, grapes, acorns, that kind of stuff. Now, all of those things you can get and put like on your altar or decorate your home with it, that kind of stuff, just to bring a little bit of this Sabbath into your day to day existence. So, some of our deities: Mabon, of course, the Madrone, Demeter, Persephone, Dionysus, Pomona, and I keep saying because I have to think about how I'm pronouncing in each of these. And my absolute favorite, the Morgan. Love the Morgan. She is one of my goddesses personally. And she's very potent, she's very powerful, so be careful if you step off in that. All right, some of our rituals and different ways to celebrate Mabon. Um, and these are kind of grounding and magical ways that we can honor this time. Create a gratitude ritual. Okay, so here's an easy way to do that. Get you a piece of paper, um, write down your list of all the things that you're grateful for the past year. And a lot of people do this in the US anyway, around Thanksgiving. Everybody around the table circles around telling things you're thankful for. Write those things down. Okay, write them down. You can burn that as an offering or bury it beneath the tree with a heartfelt blessing. Now, if we're going to bury it, let's make sure that it's, a biodegradable type paper, not some fancy photo paper or some weird, paper with chemicals and all that. And they even have some papers with like wildflower seeds already in them. See, then you've got your ritual, you've done your blessing, and then when spring comes, you're going to have a beautiful little patch of wildflowers. Love it. You can decorate a harvest altar. Use all those apples and leaves and nuts and gourds and candles and all those earthy colors and add symbols of balance like a scale. Or you can even do something like two candles. You know, if you get two candles that are the same shape, the same shape and size and color, that's balance. You know, it doesn't have to truly be about weight. It's about the symmetry of it. Find that balance for that. Make it apple magic. I think this one's lovely. I just love it. So normally when we cut up an apple, we cut it, you know, downwards and make the little quarters or whatever. But instead of doing that, cut it crossways. Within that apple is a 5-pointed star. You can use that in spell work or use it as an offering. Or even better, bake something delicious with intention, like a gratitude apple pie. Who doesn't love apple pie? I love apple pie. Freya, stop. My dog's scratching. Sharpay. She's got sensitive skin, so she scratches. Where was I? Oh, the apple magic. So even if you don't bake with these apples, you can continue to slice that apple up all the way. So you have a bunch of little discs, right? Let them dry, and then string them up like garland. Sure can. And then, even then, after you're done with it, if you're tired of looking at it or whatever, put it outside for the birds. Especially with winter coming, they would love that. uh, where was I? Oh, yes. Do a balance check-in. This is a hard one for me personally. Doing a balance check-in, ask yourself what areas of my life are out of alignment. Okay, and we all get that way, and that's okay. You know, it's important to know that things are out of alignment and to work toward realigning them. So you can journal your thoughts. You can do a tarot spread for insight and recalibration. You know, maybe your week is normally set a certain way and it's just not quite working for you. Well, this is a good time to look at that and look at why it's not working for you and see if you can recalibrate a better schedule. Maybe you need to go to the gym on Saturdays instead of Tuesdays. Or, I mean, just simple stuff. Simple stuff. You know, just check in with yourself. Don't neglect yourself. You could go on a nature walk. This is a good time to do this insight check-in too. I think I do a lot of thinking on my nature walks when I get to do them. So you can collect your autumn offerings at that time also, like pine cones and acorns and colorful leaves, and you can give thanks to the land as you want. Okay, and use what you find. You know, if you find these huge acorns like I have found down in Houston, they're massive. They're like 2 inch. They're huge acorns, and I bring them home and use them in my craft and stuff. All that's important. Once again, though, we're going to go back into shadow work. This is a time to kind of turn inward, reflect on our emotional patterns, any wounds or fears that we are ready to face. This is a good time to do that. You know, this is a good time to look at those things and see what can be released so we can move forward. All right? Because a lot of times those are the things that are holding us back from becoming our true, deep spiritual selves. Yeah, I know. I know. That's a lot. That's the heavy work of it. All right. That's the super heavy part of the craft is doing that internal reflection. That's the hard part for me, anyway. And then something fun like host an equinox feast. It's kind of like Thanksgiving, but without, stealing land and business. Share your food with loved ones. Celebrate the fruits of the land and your labor, and celebrate it with gratitude as your centerpiece. You know, have everybody take a bay leaf or an oak leaf or whatever, write something they're grateful for, and then put it in this beautiful centerpiece on your table while you're feasting. You know, it kind of gives everyone a little project to do, and it makes everybody think, you know, and do that reflection. That reflection's important. Speaking of reflection, that's what's next on my list. Mabon reminds us that letting go can be sacred. You know, it's part of the circle of life. Trees do not mourn the fact that they lose their leaves every year. They release them in beauty and in peace because they know that on the other side of that is the light again. You know, they know the dark time is coming, winter is coming, but on the other side of that, spring comes. You know, so it's easy for them. They release those things in beauty and peace. Can we learn to do the same? That remains to be seen. Some can, and some can do it very easily, and some of us cannot. And we are a constant work in progress, and that is okay. There's absolutely nothing wrong with being a work in progress. Nothing at all. And don't let anybody tell you different. Don't let them tell you different. So, as the light begins to wane, we're called to acknowledge our own inner harvest. We are called to embrace the light and the dark. We are called to honor the cycles of growth and decay. Once again, that's that balance. You can't really have the decay without the growth. And a lot of times you can't have the growth without the decay, because the decay is what is fertilizing and getting things ready for the growth. Balance. Give thanks for the things in your life and that you're keeping in your life. And then gracefully let go of those things that aren't serving you. Let them go. Be Elsa, just let them go. I know, way easier said than done, but we can at least try. So breathe deeply, speak your gratitude, and know that the descent into darkness is not an ending. It is not a period. It's a return to center. Okay? It's a return to that inner reflection, and from there we grow outward again into the light. So there is our journey through Mabon. Um, that's our harvest for the year, for this time of year anyway. Next on our wheel is Samhain. Who doesn't love Samhain? It's the witch's new year, when the veil is thin and the ancestors, they're whispering, what are they going to say to you this year? They've already been talking to me, and I'm like, look, it ain't time. I'm going to need y'all to calm down. So, if this episode brought you some balance, or maybe even stirred up a little fall magic in your bones, especially right now because we're in July, so everybody would like a little bit of fall right now. Share it with your coven or your cauldron crew or your coffee date or anybody. Share it with a person in the line at your grocery store. I don't care. Share it. Raven's Ramblings, of course, is streaming here on Spotify. Give me a follow, leave me a review, leave a comment, and let's keep turning this wheel together, okay? And I'm actually in the process of videoing, hey, and working on getting this stuff put up on YouTube. So you can listen to it here on Spotify, or you can actually go to YouTube and listen and watch. And I guess we'll see how that goes. And maybe nobody wants to look at me. Who knows? We'll see. Until next time, stay grounded, stay grateful, stay magical. Blessed Mabon. Bye.